Hello and howdy, everyone. A couple days ago, I got to see Amour, and I loved it. It was a powerful film and a profound experience. It was mesmerizing, hypnotic, brutally honest, important. It was excellent. You know, it was excellent. It was one of the year's best by far. In fact, I think I want to give it a 10. It's an excellent film. I wish I knew more of the names. This is a foreign film. I'm not sure whether to call it an Austrian film or a French film, as I believe, even though the film takes place mostly in an apartment, I believe they're in France, you know, perhaps Paris. Again, that's never established as far as I could tell. Or remember. But the writer and director, producer, is Austrian. So, I mean, I imagine that he, did pre-production in Austria, and I imagine he did post-production in Austria. So I don't know whether to call it a French film or an Austrian film. My gut says French, but I'm not sure. It stars two French titans of film. This is my first experience with either of them, even though they're both in their late 70s or early 80s. They've been working, acting pretty much all of their lives. I cannot tell you their names. They're French names, and again, I'm not familiar with them, so I could not memorize their names there in the theater. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but the writer and director is Michel Hunk. That's my best guess as to how to say his name. It may be Michael, but given the European connection, I thought maybe more Michel. But I believe it's Hunk. Yeah, there you go. This is only the second film I've seen of his. I saw The White Ribbon a couple years ago in the theater. I enjoyed this much, much more than The White Ribbon. It's as deliberately paced as The White Ribbon. I just enjoyed, I guess, the payoff, the experience, the afterglow of watching this film. I enjoyed much more. But The White Ribbon is obviously a beautiful film. Both films, White Ribbon and Amour, won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival in their respective years. So that says something. That, I mean, I guess it's not totally surprising that, you know, the French award the French. I guess that's not, you know, a shocker. But I definitely can't argue that it wasn't worth it, you know. It probably most likely deserved it, because, again, this film is amazing. The film is about love, as you could probably assume from the title. It's about love and old age. You have a couple that has been together all of their lives. They have an adult child. I mean, again, I'll say the characters are both in their early 80s, and, you know, again, they've been together all of their lives. I think they said they met at university or something like that. So again, all of their lives, and it's an examination of love through hardship, and just over time, what it would, what does it mean to be in true, deep love, still, after all this time, at the age of 80. What will you deal with? One thing, the most obvious thing that you deal with, is the degradation of the body and mind. And, how do you cope with that? How do you cope with losing the only thing you have, basically, the only human, slowly and in front of your eyes? How does love survive? How do you survive that? Do you survive that? It's hypnotic. I mean this. I was hooked, and at some level of fascinated with the opening frame. It had me from the get of the go. I was there. The camera moves very little, if at all. It basically is stationary. The shots are composed as, you would a photograph or a painting. That's kind of what it felt like to me after a bit, is that the style was the camera holds its position for so long, and so little happens in the frame, you start to look at the movie screen as if it were a giant painting. And how does that make you feel? What do those household objects, shown in that particular light, and in that particular sequence, how does that make you feel? It's definitely a very abstract film. A lot of the film happens, I believe, in your own mind and soul. I think that's kind of the point. It cuts deep. And it is a long film. It does require attention, though I feel that it keeps your attention. There's no way you can go through this film with all of the meditative pace without reflecting on your own life and, the situations that these people are dealing with. How would you deal with it? So there's no way to get around that. You will get distracted, but I feel that that's pretty much inevitable, if not the point. But I think it's richly rewarding. I think the film is about 2 hours and 10 minutes. And again, you're basically watching two old people in an apartment. So again, it gets, well, I can't say it gets monotonous. It doesn't feel right to say that. It doesn't feel right to say that it gets repetitive, because it doesn't. It just, again, it requires your attention. In fact, this is my issue with foreign films in general, and watching them, is, especially in such a beautiful film like this, you have to basically choose between reading the subtitles, watching the subtitles, or watching the picture. For me, watching the acting. That's what I think I sorely miss when I have to read subtitles. So, for certain scenes, I just, dedicated myself. I was like, okay, I know pretty much where the story's at. I can go without reading subtitles for the next couple of scenes and just focus on the frame and again the acting. So at some points I didn't know what they were saying because I didn't want to put the effort into reading the subtitles. It's not that easy to do, to read the subtitles and have a full understanding of the work that's going on, I feel. So at some points I just stopped reading the subtitles just because I think I could pretty much figure it out through tone and body language. The acting is beautiful. It's expert. It's masterful. Again, we have two career actors here, so that's not a surprise. It's really just beautiful. The whole film is just beautiful. I don't really know what else to say. I thought it was well, I tried to make some kind of a point, even though it's 2 hours and 10 minutes and meditative and abstract and deliberately paced. It still feels at times exhilarating, and I think it comes from just being so involved. You really fall in love with these characters. You really feel like you know them. I was trying to get around this, but why not? Because it's honest. But within 20 minutes, I'm an emotional person. I can admit to that, and I'm not ashamed of it. I hope I'm not manic by any means or depressive, but I admit to mood swings and being moody and easily goaded into emotion. But within 20 minutes of watching this film, I cried for the first time. That's why I was trying not to tell you, is I cried 3 times while watching this film. And I'm not talking like weeping, like, oh my God, whatever. Tears rolled down my cheeks. It's a very powerful film. And within 20 minutes, I, cried, and I realized that in that 20 minutes, I had already fallen in love with these characters. And that's magic to me. That's where the whole unexplainable essence of art comes into play. And I just don't know what else to call it but magic. And it's just the pacing, the visual pacing of a story that's done by a master. I don't really know how else to describe it. I think it's a film that should be seen. Again, I feel that it's important. It's a deep and true statement on the human condition, and that's what art is all about. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, I think I've covered the big points. It's absolutely beautiful to look at, every frame. Again, I was hooked from fade up from black in this film to the very end. It's gorgeous to look at. It's masterfully acted, masterfully written, masterfully directed. It's a masterful film. And I don't think there's any music. I think that there is some obvious music because she, the female lead, is a piano teacher and has instructed some who become great, piano players. And so there is music, but I don't really think there's a soundtrack at all, which also goes back to my, it does demand your focus. It does demand your attention just because the usual cinematic tricks, I feel, are not there. I don't know what else to say other than I hope you see this film. If it doesn't come to your town, which wouldn't be surprising, definitely rent it. But see it on the big screen, no matter what you can do. See it with people. I saw this, I live in Los Angeles. It's only on 3 screens in all of Los Angeles right now. And I saw an afternoon show. It was, I would say the theater was half full, and full of elderly couples, as I kind of expected at a afternoon show, afternoon matinee, of a movie about old people in love. So there were a lot of old people in love at the movie. There was one walkout during a particularly emotional scene. One person did walk out, and as far as I could tell, did not return. Which surprised me. I didn't really understand that, but it did happen. I thought the film was tremendous. I'm so nitpicky about my 10s just because I feel that a 10 is a perfect film, and, perfect films don't technically exist. I think a 10 is a matter of heart. It's okay to give a movie a 9, but to give it a 10, I think it has to reach somewhere deep inside you, and that's what this film did to me. So that's my decision for giving it a 10. It's just because it shows such a mastery of all the technical aspects of filmmaking, and makes such an artistic statement, and it touched my soul. There's no way that, I can't give it a 10. So there you go. That's Amour, and it's one of the best films of the year, and again, one of the most affecting times I've had in a movie theater. So I quite enjoyed it. I want to see it again. I want to see it again. So there you go. I don't know what else to say. That's Amour. It's a 10. Thank you very much.